Gwennon, you wake up to a absolutely passed out boyfriend, and the other one, seemingly, somehow, has managed to sneak out of the cuddle pile with you.
How dare.
For a second, it upsets you until you, through the ceiling, hear poorly muffled laughter of some, apparently maybe two or three people, uh, giggling and trying not to wake everybody up. So you assume Aaron and someone else are talking, because everyone else seems to be asleep. Should be asleep.
Should be asleep.
So, do you leave anything to say that you're going to be back in a timely manner to Adam? Or do you just tuck him in?
Tuck him in, pat him on the forehead, maybe a little kiss.
You
Because
you give him a
sillies.
little kiss, and I have a feeling he would just stir and give you the look of, "Are you okay?" Like that half awake, I'm not really paying attention, but are you okay?
She's eepy. Head pats. I'm mumbling of, yeah, I'm good. Just going to get a drink.
And you head out to presumably get a drink, though I need you to make a perception check. And it's pretty. The lights are dim when you walk out. Not dark, just dim.
Gwen outside.
No dark vision for any of you fuckers.
Yeah, Gwen can't cheat like that yet.
As you walk out and you start to head to the kitchen to grab some water or maybe just tea and relax for a little bit, because you don't remember what woke you up, only the feeling of having no one in your arms, and it briefly upset you to a point where you woke up and
Yeah.
you saw Adam but not Aaron, and then heard the laughter. But you do, out of the corner of your left eye, see a glimmer of bluish silver at the ends of the cape as someone walks out of the rec room doorway and leans against the wall. He doesn't seem to have noticed you.
Dude.
The guy of ever.
Little footsteps, little footsteps. Probably gets past this. Because as I'm realizing now, there's a doorway right there.
Yeah. There's a lot of doors on this ship.
I mean, that's good if there's ever a hull breach, but
Otherwise, it is annoying. Because you
they
can't
function
be
like
sneaky.
they function like Star Trek doors. We can just get through them. It's fine. Just gets to hear softly call, "You good?"
And he looks up, and for practically everybody here, he does have to look up. And even from this distance, the glow of the lights on the floor, as well as the lights from the uh, other rooms where people may be awake or may have just forgotten to turn them off. It casts him in an eerie light for a second as he looks up and he's not quite smiling. But then he smiles and goes, "Miss Dwayne?"
That's my name. Don't wear it out. Are you good?
Yeah, I think so at least. What about you? You alright?
Good. A little bit startled awake, but aside from that,
Yeah, I did see one of your partners dawdle off and get followed.
yes, that would be Aaron.
Smart kid. Doesn't have a lot of brain cells.
I mean, you're not wrong, but don't be mean to them like that. They're doing their best.
And sometimes your best is not enough, and that has to be okay. And he pushes off the wall and kind of approaches half-heartedly, not getting into your bubble of space, but getting where you can see him fully. What's up?
Not much, I suppose. You just generic vague gesture of I'm not sure how to put this.
There's nothing you can say to me that other people haven't said worse. With the look of really bitch.
You look like you have absolutely no idea what you're doing here.
That's a default state of being. I go wherever Her Majesty goes.
Just because, or
I am her
because that's your
bodyguard.
job?
Yes, it's my job, and I'm pretty sure she'd have a panic attack if I wasn't nearby.
So not just the bodyguard, your friends.
Well, yeah, aren't you supposed to be friends with the people you guard so you can protect them better? Just grinning with that essence of challenge me, I dare you.
Head tilt. My father's glaives were a similar way, I suppose.
Yeah, it is definitely easier to protect someone when you know them. Because then you know where they'll be and you don't have to be there all the time. Unless they want you there. And he steps closer. Kind of past the doorway and trying to keep his voice low. But he leans against the freezer door, essentially, and he shudders in that manner of someone who is sensitive to the cold. And goes, you know, you're not very good at hiding your emotions.
Was never my priority.
As a soldier or as a princess? Or as a person?
As a person.
Huh? Speaking of, who do you want to be?
What do you mean?
He shrugs and goes, as for it, for reference, I was told I was a monster most of my life. It only got worse when people found out what I am. Granted, Viv and Smoke and Gray, they got onto that pretty quick, but it left a mark. And I don't tell them that because they know already. What do you want to be in the grand scheme of things? A savior? Protector? Or just Gwen?
Not quite sure at the moment. You know, things happened. Still trying to figure out where I fit into all of this again.
Who says you gotta? I certainly don't. And I've lived in this hellscape most of my life. You gotta make the most of it, Gwen. You gotta make every second count. Every second, otherwise one day you're going to lose something and you won't be able to get it back. Make an insight check.
Make an insight check.
Like you don't already know what he's talking about.
I mean, I sure do. Jesus, Gwen, get it together.
I'd say with a base of 5, but getting into 22. You get the feeling that what he's talking about is a little deeper than just trying to talk to you, but you're not sure exactly what he's talking about.
Gwen hums softly before going, I mean, I already thought I lost everything once. I'm not keen to repeat that experience.
You don't gotta be. Life takes, and it takes, and it takes. What are you gonna do to stop it when it takes again?
Gotta draw the line in the sand somewhere, eh?
Just sand? You're not gonna blow a crater in the ground and say, this is mine? With a grin.
That seems a little over dramatic, but I understand where you're coming from.
Well, who do you think my parents are?
Um, Menaces to the society in what I'm hoping is the best way possible.
What's worse is that you don't actually know who my real mother and father are, so. Perhaps I should quote unquote introduce myself. And he holds out his hand to you, Gwen. Spellblade Alexios Ambrosi. Merlin Legacy.
I'm so sorry, Gwen. The first response was, did that old man finally kick it? Oh, Jesus, Gwen.
Be nice to Merlin, I say as I bully Yensid into the ground.
Gwen is entirely here for the bullying of Yensid. That man deserves it. Merlin was a kooky old man when she was a child.
He eventually kicked it, from what I know.
We hope.
We can certainly try.
The idea that Merlin is still out there somewhere is something.
He's a West Virginia cryptid. That's so
Yeah.
specific.
Very specific. But ooh, okay. Okay. Back on topic, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
Gwen does um reach out to you, shake his hand, and go, Princess Gwen and Gwen, at your service, but you seem to have already known that.
You're kind of famous, and he takes back his hand. In not particularly good way, but then again, I've gotten to watch you a little bit. It seems like you unintentionally, whether you think so or not, believe what you read.
What do you mean by that?
You let yourself get angry over the words of authors that never met you. And he grins. Isn't that right?
Less me and more things that in my time were written down but have been changed.
Don't you know? And he makes a flippant hand gesture that is a little too flamboyant for someone who claims to be straight. Or at least other people think you're straight.
Yeah, eyebrow raise from Gwen.
Nonetheless, you do believe that things have changed from your time to ours. How do you know that's true?
Well, change is inevitable. But someone appears to be fudging the details. I do, when this is over, aim to try and fix that.
The world can always use an honest author. Writing is according to Her Majesty. She'll never let you know, but she's very good at poetry. As I've said to her before, writing is the essence of the soul. You mess up what you're writing, you mess a part of your soul up. And if you lie, you're lying through your soul. I've never been one for anything but nonfiction, as I'm sure you can tell. But even things that are true can be faked, as I'm sure you've come to understand.
Something. Victors sure do like changing the history books to suit them.
And he laughs almost loud enough to wake the people in the room beside you. But knowing who's in that room, it's probably likely that they're completely passed the fuck out.
They're EPs.
Everyone's eepy.
Mm-hmm.
But Alex pauses for a moment after laughing and goes, "Yeah, I've wondered what it would be like sometimes to have a different life than this. A life where I I don't know. I wouldn't change it for the world, but sometimes the world seems fit to change me in tandem. You know?
I do. Regrettably enough.
That's why you have to kick back. Make sure the world knows that for all it changes, you'll change it twice fold over. All it takes, you'll give tenfold. Because the world can do as much evil as it wants to. You have to be the good you want to see in the world.
Part of the reason I'm still here and kicking, I suppose. This far and no farther, you know?
You're thinking of it all wrong.
How so?
This far and no farther. What does that apply to? To them or to you? To the world or to the stars? How far is too far when they have already taken enough to muse the line? Where is too far, Gwen and Gwen?
Hard to say, I suppose, but it's certainly too far when people start getting hurt. People who have nothing to do with this. Weren't even involved in the first place.
So what do you do when too far has been reached and superseded? What do you do when the world says, you don't control me?
Regrettably for the world, it doesn't control me either, and I say no.
So say no, and keep saying no. It's what I did until I was pulled back on the reins. Not for any other reason than I don't think anybody wants to understand that I can glass a world.
Terrifying! Thank you for that information.
Technically classified, so Viv's gonna kill me. And he grins with that energy of a fucking 18-year-old who realized I can leave and say shit. I can backtalk to my mother, says the 18-year-old who just got his driver's license.
Can you? Can you?
But he just grins and eventually goes, "You're doing good, kid. I know I know it doesn't feel like you're doing much, but you're doing good. And good is a slow effort. So slow down. This war's not going anywhere, and neither are your allies."
I mean, I sure hope that's true.
Don't hope, dream. It's a much stronger edifice.
One second.
Okay.
I love my dogs. I do. They are, in fact, dumbasses.
Little babies.
Little babies full of chaos.
Fitting for you.
Hey,
Am I wrong?
no.
But unless you have anything else to say to Lex, he'll probably leave you to your own devices.
I cannot think of anything else at this moment.
He pats you on the shoulder, having to reach up a little bit more than even for his beloved Her Majesty. I forgot her name for a second, even though it's yours. It's being deleted from my brain every time I think of it. Gee, I wonder why. But he pats you on the shoulder and walks back into the rec room on a likely term of having to deal with a worried and panicking queen. But you're free to wander.
Free to wander.
Even though I can't move Molly's token, Molly would not leave Uluka alone.
Woe to Luca, Molly be upon ye.
Woe to Luca, you're engaged.
You're engaged. Suffer the repercussions of that action.
The consequences of your action are you're loved.
I'm trying to think of why Gwen would go see Luca. I have nothing. Help.
She could be curious as to like how he's doing. That's an equally it's an equal thing to do.
Yeah, I am trying to befriend the sibling that I don't think likes me.
That's his resting bitch face. I apologize.
We're getting there with Gwen and all of Aaron's siblings. We're gonna have that cute eventually.
Eventually, I believe in you. So
Knocking on the door.
you knock on the door as everyone else is asleep, and you hear the faintest "Come in."
Geek from the Gwen.
You see in a fairly clearly lit room. Around the bend, you faintly see a tussle of pinkish purple hair tied back, and someone curled up on one of the chairs over here.
He's
And
sleeping.
yeah, Molly's sleeping. Luca, however, across the way towards the back of the room, separated only by a small divot where for all intents and purposes, a couple of bookshelves on medical supplies and stuff like that are keeping him kind of sandwiched in a chair that he obviously chose himself as he is facing the door and will know anybody that comes in. And he looks up and roll perception.
Oh, the Persepi again. Perceive.
It's fairly easy to see. The reason why the room is lit up is not because the lights are on. It's because of the intricate trinket that he normally has settled around his neck that is currently lit up. And it looks like you're looking directly into a sunset from the side.
Wah, bright.
Yeah, it's very bright, but he seems unfazed by it. If anything, he seems comforted. And he gently moves it over to one of the bookshelf's edge so it's not blinding anybody. But in return, Molly stirs a little bit and looks at him with the expression of, "Are you going to bed yet? You shit?" And just, "No, I have some work to do. I'll be in bed shortly." Which gets Molly to pout for a second before mumbling, "You better," and curling back up again. "How can I help you, Miss Gawain?"
Just, checking on you, I suppose?
He raises a brow at that and goes, "Are you sure you aren't sick, ill, in need of a checkup?"
Relatively sure I am not sick, yes.
"Alright. Well then have a seat. I'll make something. Well, I'll summon something. I'm not going to go to the kitchen at this hour, I'm pretty sure." You see him fumble over an actual name for a second. It's starting with an S. No roll required. He's probably talking about Smoker. And he goes eventually, "I don't want to be waylaid by Smoker."
Alright if you're sure.
At which point he waves a hand and a pretty nice feast shows up, like for two people at least. And then looking over at Molly, who is faintly waking up from the smell of food, snaps his fingers and a third plate joins it. And they seem, for all intents and purposes, it's a Caribbean style meat mess. Something filling and savory with hints of greenery and vegetables, but not very many. It's more meat based than anything. It looks actually delicious for being summoned. By the way, this does count as a hero's feast.
I figured.
Yeah, from how I described it.
Yeah.
Because that's something a cleric can do.
Sure is.
You just need the time for it. I'm kind of waylaying it a little bit because this motherfucker, absolutely with his ability, could near instantly summon a hero's feast.
The special little tweet.
But yeah, there is a Caribbean style feast on the pretty large table in front of him. Go ahead. I need to get something to eat anyway. I've been working for a while now. And this close to him, you do see, like, straight up, we're making the joke now, he has Versace eye bags. That shit is expensive.
Someone is going to get him later for this.
They can try.
It's Viv. No trying necessary.
Like Viv has any fucking place to talk, bro. Gun. Snom gun. Try him.
uh,
He'll sleep when his mom sleeps. Die.
chaos energy only.
I need to quote that again. Anyway, continue on.
Gwen just sort of nervously picking at the food because
Because what?
because Luca and their interactions haven't been fantastic and she is nervous.
He stares at you for a moment, and I know his passive insight, you're not beating that.
Yet you will notice we're not even attempting
No deception for you. Even if you are a
no
sorcerer.
deception.
But
Do
he
I?
looks at you with a kind of... He almost looks angry. Which, from what you've heard from Aaron about Luca, it's kind of normal for him now to look resting angry.
Just his face.
It's just his face. And he tilts his head slightly, in that less like a puppy dog that's confused and more like a ambush predator who's been caught in the shadows, which doesn't make you feel very much better.
No, it does not.
And he carefully starts to speak. Gwen,
Yes.
are you alright?
As far as I know, yes.
You're acting very strange around me, that's all.
I. Well, because I'm not very certain that this is going to sound exceedingly dumb, I think, but I'm not operating under the impression that you like me very much.
He visibly reels in a way that his eyes widen slightly and his eyebrows jump a little bit. But otherwise, he still looks like the ambush predator in the shadows. Except this time, it's more like the panther that got caught by the mama keeper and was just like, you know,
Spooked the boy.
why would I have any reason to dislike you? Have you hurt my sibling or something?
No, but none of our interactions have been very positive.
What gives you the impression that I don't like you? Is it the way I talk? I'm afraid that's just my voice.
As Erin has explained.
Oh, good. Now I know that my
Something
brother talks about me.
something about resting bitch face when I mentioned to them I didn't think you liked me.
Yes. Well, there's more to it than that. But it's complicated, but I don't dislike you. I actually favor you quite a bit over the others. Except for Cayde, of course. Cayde tried to win a gambling session with me once. And almost won.
He's like that.
I appreciate it, but he was going up against a pirate.
Pirates are like that.
He would make a good one, as would you. You value freedom, which is core concept of being a pirate.
So I've been told before.
He stares at you for a moment in that way of not knowing if he should speak up. Only to go, "You're from a long time ago, correct?"
300 years, give or take. Missing princess and whatnot.
Right. Not the question, but yes. I don't much care for times or dates. That's my sister. My littlest sister, at least. Stickler for everything time-based. I'm surprised she doesn't have control over it. But, may I ask if you ever met a Saitos before? In your time? Which is for a split second, there's a childlike curiosity in his voice.
Maybe? What makes you ask?
I've just been curious lately, wondering if the Saitos family had always been doomed to fall into ruin. Just absent-minded curiosity. Morbid, I suppose, is better.
I don't think there's anything wrong with being curious if this was a long time coming or the actions of a few people.
I've heard about an ancient Saitos, is all, of someone much like me who was a pirate. I just wonder if you knew anything, or if you had seen them.
I'm not sure if they're the same person, but I did meet a pirate when I was younger. Early teens, I believe. Most bisexual man I've ever seen.
And Luca, for once in you've ever spoken to him, he actually laughs loud enough for Molly to be jolted awake and be surprised for a moment, only to softly smile at seeing Luca show more emotion than just a deadpan anger. At which point Molly does sit up and drag the other chair over to the table and not join the conversation, but keep an eye on it.
Mm-hmm. He's
Third
vibing.
wheeling by choice. And Luca's laughter finally calms, and he looks, despite how he's not smiling, the smile reaches his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Good to know that some things transferred over. After all, I'm not exactly straight myself. None of us are.
Very, very true.
What were they like?
In what way do you mean? I have several answers.
I don't know. There's no record aside from brief tidbits in history books of someone who might have had the name Saitos. And it was a pirate.
The man I knew was a lot in a very positive way.
How so?
Well, when I say he was the most bisexual man I've ever met, he very much dressed the part.
I can almost imagine it.
Had something to say other than about if he didn't, then nobody would ever believe him because he was married.
Why would
His wife
nobody
was,
believe him?
well, apparently his wife was the polar opposite of him in the way they dressed. And, some people aren't always inclined to believe people about their attraction once they're married. Stupid as that is.
Weird. Never would have guessed a pirate to be concerned with sexuality. Sometimes it happens, but
He was living his best life.
do you miss talking to him?
Mm, sometimes.
Other times?
I can hear my father groaning from beyond the grave. it,
That sort of
was,
pirate.
it wasn't that my father disliked him, it was just exasperation.
He made it a point to be annoying, is what I'm hearing.
Specifically to important people, I think.
That sounds like a Cytos. And Luca's expression is fond. A sort of resting calmness that makes the bags under his eyes even more prominent. Because as as you look around, what's your passive perception?
A lot.
I think it's like 27.
32.
Even better. I'm thinking of someone else. But as you look around, you realize that there's pens and pencils and papers and books and all sorts of medical terminology written across them. And as you look a little closer, you realize that this room is not meant for that. This room is meant to rest and meant to relax and enjoy themselves. The books on the shelves are mostly historical dramas, and there's a couple of CDs, old CDs, the ones that you'd find in like the stuff that you would get from a special edition of a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And there's fiction books, romance novels, stuff like that. But it's been slowly being taken over by Luca's adamance to his work. And for the first time in ever that you've known Luca, there's a sort of calmness to his posture that Molly seems to be falling even more in love with as it shows up.
Watching them be adorable.
Yeah. But eventually the not resting bitch face, but like resting almost concerned annoyance returns to his expression and goes, "Do you think if you ever had the chance you would become a pirate?"
I can't say.
Well, there's always room on my ship for you.
I
Even if you want a
will.
pirate.
I'll keep that in mind, Luca.
Now enjoy your midnight snack. I realized what time it was. Just the absent-minded, I thought it was like 6 o'clock in the afternoon kind of energy. And then
Seeing
just, and Luca looks over at Molly and goes, "Are you sure it's midnight to 1 right now?" And it's just, "Yes. I've been asleep since 8." And she's like, "8? I thought it was 6." Honey.
oh, honey.
No track of time. None.
No perception.
He has all the insight for Seppi is for somebody else. He will see into your soul, but he can't see where the fuck he's going. That's why he has glasses. He needs them.
He needs them. He can't see.
Is there anything else you'd like to talk to Luca about? Or just spend some time with him and distract him from work?
We're going to distract the boy from work. Whoa.
How do you do
Rest be
so?
upon him. I don't know.
Well, there's a couple of things you could do. You could choose to tell him more about the ancient Saitos pirate, which I'm sure you know quite well how to do. Or you could talk about your life, either the one you live now, and catch him up on some things and kind of worry him. It's like he worries a lot. Or you
He
could
has
talk to him
anxiety.
about Alexander and Selene and make both of you
All
sad. What do you do?
um, I think in this moment, where I try not to sneeze.
Mood.
Jesus. Um, Gwen's going to try and talk about some of the stuff over the past, 5.5 years, because clearly, clearly, nobody has been catching up anyone on anything.
Lucas said his own issues. Lucas almost died. It's okay. Which he does absent-mindedly in a joking manner try to bring up of, oh, I probably don't know a lot of this because I almost died. And I feel like Gwen's just like, what the fuck?
Very much so, what the fuck.
Which he does explain that in like brief context that he went up against something that he thought he killed and turned his back on the body. And he grimaces at even saying it because he openly admits he should have known better. But as you continue talking and getting to know Luca, I'll I'll ask you out of this recording what you would like to learn about him. Like it could be small. But as for now, you talk with him and eventually you get comfortable enough to actually take full bites of your midnight snack, which might make dinner or breakfast hard to bite down because it's a little less extravagant.
Oh no.
And also because it's a good feast. It fills you up. If you've ever had Caribbean food.
I have not.
God. Okay. The offense in my tone was from Luca.
Regrettably, I've never had that chance.
But as you talk to him and you learn about him, you realize he genuinely does like you. He finds you entertaining and a little worrying, but then as you talk to him more, you realize the worry is natural. He doesn't exactly know how to turn it off. And if you would like, I can also roll persuasion for me.
I'm gonna say something. Gwen's
Yeah.
filing that under the same thing she filed some of Aaron's things of, He cares so much.
He cares so much. Roll
Cares
persuasion.
so much. Persuasion.
This will be the last roll.
Gwen.
I'd say in this instance, even though you have a plus 17, you did roll a 4.
I sure did roll a 4. I'm aware of it. I can see it.
You notice that he gets hesitant when it comes to showing anything other than surprise or concern or sometimes the resting neutral annoyance. And you hesitate in asking because he did mention he did almost die. And when you do finally ask, all he says is, "It's nothing for you to be concerned about." But you
Well, she's
kind of...
concerned now.
Yeah, it concerns you now, but he doesn't seem to want to talk at the moment.
Wow.
And regardless, you do spend time talking to Molly, talking to Luca, and you learn a little bit about them and how they've been inseparable since they met, and how they both help each other. And sometimes Molly is instated as temporary captain while the captain is passed out from lack of sleep, which makes Luca go, "That's not what happened." And she's like, "That's what his, though." And it's a nice conversation. It's pleasant. And you realize Luca's just another guy trying to get through life. I think that's what we're at.
Just a little dude.
Yeah, I think that's what we're at.
Alright.